Hi, and welcome to my podcast, Jack to the Future. From science and inventions to pollution and recycling, I talk about what's changing in the world, the future, and how we can help with that. Every month I'll talk about a different future theme. For example, the future of science, tech, sustainability, reading, music, and all sorts of other ones. The future of everything. On this week's episode, we are talking about the future of reading. I'll be telling you some ideas from Google of what the future of reading might look like. We are very lucky to have our guest speaker, David Rudd, the manager of Hertford Library. He talks about his favourite books, what you can do at the library, and his predictions for the future. We finished this week's episode with a book review by me about this really cool interactive ebook called Galdo's Gift. And I forgot! I need to tell you about something really important. I need to tell you about my lit shades. It's an invention I designed that might be able to exist into the future, which will transform reading books from today. So, the future of reading. Authors have been quite creative and try to make people interact with the books. I think this will develop or get even better in the future. There is an author called Tom Fletcher who is another author who I really like, and he started to do some books called There's a Monster in Your Book and all sorts of other ones, and you had to act out and try to shake the book and move the pages and do all sorts of interactive things with it to make the monster come out of your book. But other authors have used technology to help with reading, like that could be something simple like adding sound to a book. Or it's that you don't have a paper book and you could read the book on the screen. Some people have Kindles which do exactly that. In lockdown, I've read a few books online and they were really interesting actually. These are really clever ideas, so reading can take loads of different forms. Do you think these ideas are good, or do you think we should stick with books just as they are? If we get rid of paper books, what do you think might happen if the libraries go and the bookshops go in towns? Created this poem with my mum. It is about the future of books, how I like books, and why I like them. And here it is. A book can make you excited, a book can make you sing, a book can make you feel like you can do anything. A book set in the jungle, a book set in the sea. Let's all read together, come and read with me. A book in the dry desert, a book from outer space. Transport yourself to a tropical rainforest or some other magical place. Non-fiction books, picture books, solve the mystery crime books, all sorts of shape and size books. A read it on your own book, a read it on a phone book, a one for sharing with dad book, a when you're feeling sad book, a pop-up book, an intriguing book, a make you laugh out loud book. Anyone can read one. Books, books, books. So my favourite verse is the second one, because I thought it would be a good idea to put the settings on and get people wanting to come and read with me and know that books are really good to read. Friday the 23rd of April is World Book Night, which is run by the Reading Agency. There is a Books to Make You Smile theme. Get involved! What will you read? Tapocketa Animation Studios are based in Hertford, Hertfordshire. Their website is www.tapocketa.com, and Tapocketa is spelled tap, then Ocketa. My mum will put the link to that on the description of this podcast and on social media. Eleanor Long and Trevor Young started this studio, and I was lucky enough to be gifted with their amazing ebook called Galdo's Gift. It's not like any ordinary book. I have read this book twice and I find it really intriguing. I've never read anything quite like it before. So they call this book a movie, and it's a little bit like a movie, but also it's a type of book. only do the characters speak and read. You can also see them move. You can press them to make sorts of sounds. And there's a really cool crystal puzzle at the end, which you have to figure out. And it's basically a code one. You have to find the codes on secret pages with bookmarks on. And at the end, you get a ticket to where he lives. I won't give too much away about the story, but Galdo is the main character who talks throughout the whole story, and he is a frog, and there's all sorts of superheroes which try to get different treasures for the town. I like it that you could put your name in it and then it personalised the message to you. That helped me feel like I was part of the story. Finding the clues at the end was tricky, but exciting as I didn't know what was going to happen. I definitely liked the story. My favourite part was when the characters came back and got their unusual prizes that didn't seem very good. They were the best illustrations that I could ever see. A lot of the story made me laugh because Galdo said some funny things that you wouldn't expect. I would recommend the movie to a friend because they'd probably love it and the rhymes were funny. I'd give it a rating out of 5 out of 5. Available to download on Apple Books. Check it out! Today we're going to interview somebody called David Rudd from our local library here at Hertford. And, well, can you introduce yourself, please?
I can indeed, yes. My name is David Rudd. I am the manager of Hertford Library. I've been working for Hertfordshire Libraries for about 12 years. Started in Welwyn Garden City Library, worked in Cuffley Library, I've worked in St Albans and looked after some other libraries over in west of the county doing lots for their children's activities. And I've been manager of Hertford Library now for nearly 4 years. And I sort of got into libraries in a bit of an unusual way because my background and all my interests are in sports, and I really wanted to be a footballer when I was younger, but wasn't quite good enough. And I went to university and I learned about coaching, about nutrition and about the body. And so my first job was for the National Sports Centre in Crystal Palace in London. And I worked there for a few years and I quite enjoyed it. And I worked for a music shop called Virgin Megastores that don't exist anymore, unfortunately. And when they ran out of money, I didn't have a job. And we'd not long moved back into Hertfordshire. And I'm thinking, well, what can I do for a job? And when we first moved to Ware, I was about your age. I was about 8 years old. And we used to go to the local library in Ware. And when I was looking for a new job about 14 years ago, there were people in Ware Library who I remember working there all those years ago. They were still working in the library. And I thought, wow, if they enjoy this job so much, then it must be a really good job. And it is a wonderful, wonderful job. It's such a great job. And I wish I'd done it a lot sooner. And so currently my job in Hertford Library, I work with a wonderful team. I've got 11 members of staff who look after me and I look after them. And we help the people who come in looking for books. We help with their information, their inquiries, and we make sure the building's safe for people to visit. And we have lots and lots of fun. We do lots of things like story times and rhyme times, and we go out to schools.
Yeah, I've been to your library quite a lot, and I've been to yours a few times to actually go to Lego Club, where we make different objects or different creations.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what can you do at the library? Is it just like reading books?
Okay. No, it's not just about reading books. That's one of the things that we like to try and educate and inform people about. So, yeah, the services that we have, there's sort of 6 different areas that we're asked to sort of concentrate on and help the people in our community about. Number 1 is about reading. So yes, books are very, very important, but amongst all of that, there are obviously different types of books that you can borrow. There's the large print books for people who are visually impaired. We've got books for people who can read in different languages. So we've got Chinese books, for example, in Hertford Library. And then the sort of the second area is information. So we get people coming to our inquiry desk and they might have a question that's got absolutely nothing to do with books or reading, or it might be, what clubs can I join in my local area? And we'll help them find that information out. My first ever inquiry when I was working in Welwyn Garden City. The chap asked me, my neighbour has built a trampoline in their garden and they can see into my garden. What do I do about it? So our job is to try and find out some help for those people who have got inquiries or questions about any kind of aspects of life. We've got a digital offer, which means providing things like PC access for people who might not have computers at home, or Wi-Fi or internet at home. And then we've also had things like tech. So we've had some programmable robots, or we've had coding clubs, some VR headsets. Sometimes provide things like that to give you access and an opportunity to use those.
Did you do coding for like binary?
They were using things like Scratch and Python.
Oh, I use Scratch, yeah. I've made a Chinese Lantern Festival.
Wow.
I really enjoyed making it. It was like super hard to create.
Depend on the kind of expertise of the person. Hopefully one day we can do that again in the library. Number 4 is health. We've had again events like it was called Slipper Swap. Now a lot of elderly people unfortunately do fall over and hurt themselves because they're using very old slippers and they've lost their grips. So we work with another department within the council who provide brand new slippers for people, and they come down and bring their old slippers, swap them for a new pair.
I do wear slippers, but not very much.
Things as well like healthy eating event, or maybe exercise as well. All different people come together, use the library as a venue to promote different healthy aspects of living. We've had books on prescription is a thing that your doctor might prescribe to you rather than actually give you medicine. There might be a book that helps. And we think as well, all the mental health benefits of coming to the library. And for some people, it might be the only people they see, seeing us and talking to us. Number 5 is the learning offer. Got all the different books that help you learn about different subjects, school work, or it might be just something you're interested in yourself. I think Ranger Stu, you were talking to, didn't he? He recommended a book about animals. Yeah. And I listened to your other podcast where you had a book about 101 top tips for reuse and recycling. There you go. You've learned things out of books. And Lego Club is one of those things as well. That's another good way of learning, like you say, about building structures,
architecture.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all different ways that these things combine. Yeah. The very most important thing about learning is obviously for very young children. So when a brand new born comes to a baby rhyme time session, is learning languages. They hear the people singing, their language skills improve, they interact with other children of their age as they get older.
Oh yeah, you do some online sessions for like really little children, baby rhyme time. Ella watched that quite a lot with you and another lady, right, Abby. Yeah. She used to watch that a lot, and she used to listen to all the songs and play along.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing those on a Monday morning. When you're introduced to books and reading and things like that, it helps you to build your own vocabulary and your own language skills. And you can do things like this. You can interview people. All that's come because you've been exposed to books and reading from a young age.
Yeah. I'm quite good at that because I've done radio shows before and I've learned quite a lot. I don't actually feel anxious.
Awesome. There's one more thing, it's our culture. We will do things in partnership with places like Hertford Theatre or Hertford Museum or the Leaf Cafe and bring different aspects of culture. So a thing we're doing at the moment is the Hertford Arts Trail. We're involved in that with the town council. So a local artist is displaying some of her pictures in our library, and there's different artists around the town. But we might have events in the evenings or anything during the holidays where authors might come in and talk about their own books and how they became authors.
Yeah. And what genre of books do you like reading? I think I mostly like adventure, mystery books.
I read anything. I don't really have a particular favourite. I suppose if given the choice, I would probably read biographies about mostly sports people and find out about their lives and their careers, or musicians. I quite like reading non-fiction books as well. So if I'm interested in a particular subject, I'll do a bit of research about it. And what I really sort of got into when I was working as a children's librarian before this job is I started reading books aimed at teenagers, because that kind of age group doesn't use the library so much. Maybe they've either found that they've got interest in other things. They feel like they're made to read certain books to fit in with their lessons, and they kind of lose their enjoyment and fun reading for themselves. So I started trying to find what people were writing for teenagers and trying to get them interested. And I just think the stories are really, really, really interesting. One of our strengths in the library is if you've got somebody asking you what kind of book should I read next or what can you recommend, we've all got different tastes. So we've got people who like all sorts. We all recommend the books for each other, and borrowers recommend us books too. So.
Yeah, my favourite type of books are probably Tarngate Diary books. Do you know those ones?
I do indeed, yeah. They're very, very popular, yeah. When we did the Ready Read service during lockdown, so we were allowed to open, but only for click and collect purposes. We had an online service where people could say, I like reading adventure books, and we would find a pack of books for them in that genre by particular authors. It'd be like a pick a mix. So people would get books that maybe they've never read before, or an authors that are brand new to them, and we could put them together, and people would come back and say, oh, that was fantastic, we really enjoyed that, we never heard of that author before.
Yeah, I've got this book in that packet called Incredible Beats, and there's all sorts of different recipes and foods that you could try, and some of them were a bit disgusting, really. Like a little bit like crazy, because the world's biggest ice cream, it was massive. And there was and there was eaten mess, and one of them called spam sandwiches. Just sit on them to make them warm, apparently. One way to warm your sandwich up without using any electricity.
Yeah.
If you ever want to warm up spaghetti bolognese, I wouldn't recommend sitting on that because you get a bit messy. What's your favourite children's book?
The people I remember reading mostly when I was your age was The Indian in the Cupboard books by Lynn Reed Banks. Have you read those ones?
Mm.
And there was the Swallows on Amazon series by Arthur Ransom as well. They're good books. I recommend them. And I like Mr. Men books as well. Mr. Men, I think, is 50 years old.
Yeah, I like those books.
Yeah.
I said to Mum that Mr. Men books are everywhere.
They're always going to be popular, yeah. I think sort of current authors, I really like Steve Cole. He's very, very funny. It's interested to hear what you sort of liked as well.
Yeah, my favourite is probably Michael Rosen. Don't know if you heard of him.
Very famous man, very famous, yeah.
Yeah, I really like his voice because he's quite funny in the way he talks and when he does his poems. If you ever heard of the one called Chocolate Cake, that one's really funny.
Don't know that one, but I can look it up.
And there's also lots of books that he reads. And in fact, I've got tons of books by Michael Rosen.
Good choice. Could I be cheeky and make an appeal to your listeners?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was, again, about 7, 8 years old, and we're talking nearly 40 years here, I used to borrow these set of books from Ware Library. They were non-fiction books, but they were cartoony pictures of how to be a spy. And you'd have the classic raincoat and the hat, and it would teach you things like cut out holes in your newspaper so you could spy on people. But I've never been able to find those books again. And I've looked so many places online, and I've looked in all these different children's book websites, and I really can't find them. So if anybody can remember a series of, I think there was 3 books. There was a red one, a blue one, and a green one about how to be a spy. I would really appreciate it because they were great books. They were really funny, and they were things like how to write different codes.
Did you have to send them back to the library?
Oh yeah. I was very good.
Competition to find a spy book. I read an interactive digital storybook called Gallo's Gift by Tapocketa Animation Studio, where you can personalise the story with your name. It talked to you, and there was a mystery to solve at the end. It was so cool, and I never read anything like it before. Do you think digital books will overtake paper books in the future? I don't really think so. I think that would be, but probably both will still be there.
Yeah, I agree. A similar kind of thing. There's good benefits for digital downloadable books, but there's also benefits for a traditional book. And again, we talked about this as a team at the library, and we think that e-readers are great for carrying lots and lots of books around in one go. You can take that away on a holiday, and it's great for traveling to work. And again, I was listening to one of your podcasts where one of your friends was talking about deforestation. This is a good benefit, that people aren't printing books on paper, saving paper there. So we think really the greatest benefit of a paper book is how kind of immersive it is, and how people enjoy reading a paper book. And you've got the feeling of turning the pages, and you've got the feeling of getting to the end of a chapter and not knowing what's happened next, and you've got to turn the page and find out. You kind of lose all that personal touch and all that emotion with an e-reader. Once you've read a book 4, 5, 6 times, the pages are well worn, it looks well loved, people like passing it on and recommending it to people, and you don't really want to give up an e-reader, do you, to a friend and say, I've read this great book, here's my e-reader. But you can give the paper copy to a friend, and they could pass it on to a friend, and they could pass it on to a friend, and you've got the kind of the reusable aspect of that as well, haven't you?
Yeah. No, personally, I find it not very intriguing to get my mind to know the story. Do you get this sort of feeling where you don't get the message of what it's saying? It doesn't pass through your body like you understand the story. It's like you have to read this sentence 5 times and then you actually understand it.
Occasionally, yeah. And I think that is easier to go back and reread on a traditional paper book, isn't it?
There's nothing like a good book where you can feel the pages, smell the pages, and get lost in a really good book. What do you predict the future of books and reading will be like?
Ooh, wow. I think maybe the way that people read might be slightly different, but when you think about how long people have been sort of communicating by writing, it's been for thousands and thousands of years, haven't they? People have been making mark. We've done all right so far, haven't we? Printing presses have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. So printed books have been around for a long time too. They've survived a long time, haven't they? With all these different technologies that are coming, kind of adapted. But maybe the way people read is sort of changing slightly. There's more online reading. Maybe people read smaller things like blogs or tweets or web pages. They are still reading, but they're reading things in different ways. Yeah, we kind of think that downloads might become more popular. We have seen for definite that there's not so much non-fiction books being printed anymore because the information changes quickly. So it's easier to update a web page rather than having to reprint lots and lots and lots of books again with a change.
Yeah.
Somebody in the team said that they think that the COVID pandemic has actually sort of made people more interested again in reading. They've had a bit more time on their hands. Maybe that people have had their passion reignited. So that would be nice. That would be good to see. We'll see. And I think, as long as there's children in the world, I think there's always going to be a need for reading, because you're going to need to be able to read for your futures. Like we were talking about earlier, that importance of being able to talk and communicate with people, but also to build up your own knowledge and skills yourself. A lot of it comes from being good readers and being exposed to books from a young age. So that hopefully will keep libraries going.
I probably agree with that. Every week now, I get a subscription for a Beano comic have you got any subscription?
Yeah, you are exactly right. Would it surprise you to know that I used to subscribe to the Beano as well? A long time. It's been going for a long time. I've got some annuals.
My granddad has them too.
There you go.
They've been on for how long now?
I think there was definitely a celebration annual of 50 years. It might even have gone to 75. Yeah, but you're entirely right. It's fine to read a magazine or a comic or any kind of different form. No, still reading is still important. And the most important thing is they're enjoying it.
I think something different might happen. I think you go through the door of the library and there's a portal that you go through. There's a little sign next to it and then another sign which has a screen on it. And it says there's certain shelf, the exact base where the book is. When you find which one you want, there's a number under that. And you type that into the little pad, you go through the portal, then come out the other side and get the book, scan it, and then you can read the book inside your head that your brain tells you. Complicated.
Yeah, doesn't sound like there's not a lot of need for library staff there, which is a little bit of a worry, but
yeah, I was trying to say that, but
you could store a lot more. You could have quicker access to books and things like that. How about the device that goes into your head? Ooh, that sounds a bit scary.
Why does it sound a bit scary?
I'm not sure would I want anybody putting a device into my brain.
I think it had some sort of thing outside your brain, just have like.
Yeah, I could handle that. That'll be up.
Do you think libraries will still exist in the future? If they do, what might be different?
Oh, I certainly hope so. Really, really hope so. And I think as long as people enjoy coming to visit us, then yeah, why not? There's still a need for it. There's different types of libraries as well. There's academic libraries where they're obviously very centered on particular teachings and courses and things like that. The British Library's got a copy, I think, of everything that's ever been printed, so pretty much. So they keep them for archive purposes as well, don't they? A library is in the center of the town, it's in the center of the community, and all those different things that we are able to offer. It might be that we evolve. Some of the suggestions that we've had, maybe we'll have some eating spaces or cafes in there as well, so people can come and socialize, choose some books as well. Already some things that were taking place in some of the bigger libraries around the county. So we've got things like 3D printers in some of the libraries, where again, another piece of expensive machinery that you won't necessarily have in your house is available in your.
I really wanted a 3D printer.
You can go and hire some time and pay a little bit of money to go and use a printer, and we will see.
Did you say you had a 3D printer?
I think our nearest one is in Hatfield. I'd have to check. But Welling Garden City, maybe getting one.
Oh, I really wanted it.
Working with other partners in the town, we can do things together. We can help save money and put on a really good show. That's the kind of things that we are sort of predicting for the library in the future. We were excited, really. We've got some nice plans.
Yeah, so this is quite a long question. I read an article from the people who work for Google. This article is a really good read, and we will put the link to it in the description on social media. And we read that Google have predicted there might be 3 ways that reading changes in the future. They think that paper books will still exist but will be different. The first prediction, that you use your phone to scan the page and extra things would pop up. The second was that there'd be an actual book with a sensor that looked like a hamburger, which would interact with you when you turned or touched the pages, and it have moving pictures, a bit like a magazine in Harry Potter. Yeah, if you've seen the magazine, sometimes the pictures changes.
Yeah.
The third one is that children's pop-up books would include video protection, light, sound, and maybe use your voice to interact with the story. What is your favourite idea? I think my fun is probably the third one, where they used a hamburger sensor.
The hamburger sensor, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? They're fantastic ideas, and when you think about it, they probably are achievable in the not too distant future. I don't know, out of the 3, maybe the one where you talk to it, that will be the most interesting, I think.
Yeah, because normally when you read it, you don't know what the voice of the person speaking actually is. So if they did that, you could interact and you could ask him or say something to him and he'd reply back. That would be pretty cool.
And you could reread it again and again, but say something different each time.
Wait, because then it'd be an everlasting story. Story never runs out. I really wanted that, and since I started reading books. Do you have any inventions that you'd like to see in the future to help with reading or in the library?
We just developed the idea, didn't we, just a minute ago, then, of the never-ending story.
Yeah, I thought you could, every time you could choose maybe a different subject it was about, and it could change. If you had like a science book, you could change it to an English book, or
I don't know, you'd be able to have access to it maybe online somewhere, and you could write a new chapter, and it would be brilliant, wouldn't it, just to carry on a story, and then a new person adds another chapter, and then a new person adds another chapter, and so the one thing that we would love to see would be something that would shelve the books for us automatically. It would put them back on the shelves in the right places, and we would be able to find them really easily, really quickly.
Maybe when all the books came out and you dropped the books on these different pads, you flicked the switch and all the pads went up from the floor, and then they went over to the side and carefully slotted the books in their places, like
That is exactly what we would like, yeah.
Or it could have a crane that goes along and picks up the books from the floor and puts it back on the shelf.
Of other ideas as well. Maybe when you get to an end of the book, and you turn over the last page, there's a screen or something that says, if you really enjoyed reading this book, why not try? And the book would recommend you another book itself. That would be quite fun.
Yeah, I do have this thing. Like when you look on the back of the book, underneath it, there's like 3 or 4 different types of books by the same author that you might want to check out.
The book could read out the first chapter to you or something, couldn't it? And you could see if you wanted to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Develop that idea into a bit more text. Yeah. How about a book where if you wanted to learn a different language, so you're reading the book in English,
Yeah.
and you turn on the switch and it translates it into the language you want to learn.
Well, you said about the coding club you did.
Yeah.
That the coders designed a robot to help you do that. Type zeros and ones into it, a secret code or something.
Oh, I just had one more idea about a different type of story that could be written. The possibility of writing a story in real time. So you could be writing something along the lines of, Jack was interviewing the library manager when suddenly, and then bum, 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 what happens next in real time?
We were wondering, those scanning machines where you put the books in. We were really wondering how we did that, because there was a barcode on the back, but it didn't matter whichever way you did it, it scanned it.
They are called RFID machines, and I've got to try and remember exactly what it stands for, but it's a radio frequency identification, I think it stands for. If you look in a library book, normally in the very, very back page, there is a small white rectangle with the information of the book written on it. And if you look really closely at that rectangle, you can see like a microchip inside it, and that is sending the frequency to the machine. So that's got the information of the book, the title and the number and all the things on there, to the kiosk, and it tells you that's the book you're borrowing.
How is there a microchip inside it?
When I first started, you used to have a big old machine, and you had to slide the books over it and it would read the information on there. But it's a lot quicker to have the radio frequency chip in the book. And it was actually really hard work, and a lot of staff actually did suffer with sort of wrist injuries and hand injuries and things like that from the repetitiveness of sliding the books over the reading head. And then when you go back probably further than that, they had to actually write the book title and the person's borrower number and put the little paper card in. So that was a very long process, and you had to get it exactly right.
What a bad job. You may have seen my video on Facebook and Instagram about my lit shades.
I have seen that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's time to tell you about my crazy invention now.
Want to get a preview of what reading in the future might be like? Short of time, but still love books? Maybe you can't carry a heavy book with you. Well, look no further than the lit shades. Designed with you in mind, these high-tech glasses download any book you like onto a microchip, which then has the capability to transfer the information about your chosen book directly into your brain using a special signal. Problem solved.
That would be amazing. That was the idea from earlier on. That sounds much more pleasant, having a cool set of sunglasses rather than having something inserted into your brain.
You put this little microchip here into the glass bit, and there's wires that go up to your head. When you scan the book with them, it goes into your head, and your brain tells you exactly what it is. So you don't have to read the book. Your brain just tells you instantly what it's actually about. I just put them on here, but you can see I've got decorated them and added diamonds on the side, some wires in the middle here.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I think this is an absolutely wonderful idea, and it's brilliantly put together. It's really interesting. I've never listened to a podcast before this weekend when I listened to all yours today, and I've never been part of one either, and so I feel very, very honoured.
Thank you so much for being here. We really enjoyed it too, for all your answers to the questions. A lot of the things we didn't know. Yeah, as you said, there's lots of different types of areas, like not just reading boring old books. Books aren't boring. Anyway, I wasn't saying that.
Oh, well, that's actually not a problem, because people are able to criticise or to promote books that way in however way they want. There's no judgment. There's nobody in the library is going to judge you for liking a certain type of book, and nobody's going to judge you for saying I don't like that.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay, listeners, that's the end of our show today. What an episode! So many good ideas. I truly hope books will still exist in the future in paper form, just as they do today. Do you agree? Join me next time for another exciting episode of Jack to the Future.